Paul, you know what? Why don't we talk a little bit about the motivation behind all these choices you made? Because we talked a little bit about you going from, joining the force to then going on to the international duties of a peacekeeper, and then going on to acting and writing, and then now being a guest speaker on the radio station, right? So there's so much going on, right? And every time that you did that, like you said earlier, you had to believe in it, and you had to commit to it. Right, so you talked a little bit about the beginning.
Right.
And let's talk a little bit about that. I think this is the best part about our show. I like talking about this all the time. Like the journey from where you started to how we got to where we are today, right? So your beginning comes from joining the force. What drove you to do that? Because there's got to be something that you found in it that really resonated with you at the time.
Well, yeah, let me go way back, to the beginning. My father was a very violent and angry alcoholic who beat my mother, my brother, and I up regularly. And when I say beat, violent beatings. And, that was the life that we knew. I didn't know any other life other than the fact that I feared my father. And he'd locked me in the trunk of a car. He took me to a slaughterhouse when I was 6 years old, and I watched pigs being slaughtered before my eyes. I don't have too many nice recollections of my father. And I was being brought up with the thought that I could never amount to anything. Even my teachers back then, they were disgusted with me because I acted out in class and I could never pass a test. So they kept pushing me from grade to grade, and I believe that they were doing that because they just didn't want me in their class. They're just like, this guy, okay, 49%? No, I'm changing that to 56%. He's in your grade next year.
You deal with it.
You deal with it, exactly. So, Paul Nadeau, the failure, up until grade 7. And, that was a time where, I started looking at girls and, and being attracted to them, but I was the bad boy, I was the bad, stupid boy. And I remember one teacher, and I don't know whether he did this on purpose or not, but he gave the class a kind of rah, we're going to pass this test speech. Yep. He says, you know what? He says, we got a test coming up next week, and I expect everybody to pass it, except for you, Nadeau. He says, I already know you are going to fail. I thought, wow, okay, I'm singled out, thank you very much. And of course the girls are going, yeah, and I'm thinking to myself, oh Lord. So I went back home having been embarrassed in front of my entire class and thinking, you know what, maybe I should study. And I don't know how to study because I didn't develop studying skills. But I committed myself, grade 7, committed myself to studying this test. And then on the day of the test, I wrote it and I felt pretty confident about myself. I thought it was pretty good. Now, what this teacher what he customarily did is that he would call the student with the lowest grade to the front of the class to pick up their paper. And that's what he did with me all the time. I was the first one. He'd say, Nadeau, 42. So I would take the walk of shame to grab my paper. Well, on this particular day, he never called my name the first. He never called my name the second. Never called my name the third. Never called my name the fourth. And this went on half of the class.
Everybody's listening. Everybody's paying attention.
Well, all the students are, when he got halfway through the class, the students were looking at me like this. They were going, why aren't you up there?
What's going on?
Yeah, and I'm thinking, and I'm looking going, I have no idea. Now, my thought process was, you did really, really, really bad, and he's going to center you up really bad. But then that other little voice in my head said, you know what, Paul? You knew those answers.
That's right.
You studied and you knew those answers. So we're down to 3 people in the class who have
wow.
Yes. Everybody else has got their papers. They're sitting there. They got their papers. They're like this, and they're looking at their mark. And there's 3 of us who have not been called up yet. My cousin Lise, who was a Browner, and Giselle Calder, who was a Browner. The 2 of them competed for the top marks all the time. There was a competition going on between the 2. The next one to be called was my cousin.
Ooh, so, wow.
So it was Giselle and I. And I was the next. So second highest, second highest. But you know what that did for me, Konstantin? That was a moment in my life where I realized that I could do it if I put the effort into it. And it changed my life. So I learned in grade 7 that whatever you give, you get in return.
That's right.
You know, so if you put your heart and soul into something, which I did in that studying, you can accomplish great things. And I've never looked back.
Please make sure to follow, subscribe, and share. He's extremely active on the media, and you will probably be listening to him on SiriusXM after this.